In 2017, he won a world championship on Xbox. In 2021, he said he was done with Siege, but time after time, he keeps getting pulled right back in and now has yet another opportunity to win another world championship. Today, I'm joined by the technical two-time retiree, SKYS, who right now is in the middle of a tight DZ boot camp. So, dude, I especially appreciate you finding some time to do this with me, man.
Yeah, I'm actually going to retire right now, so thanks for having me. Peace.
I'm glad I caught you before you decided to do it again. Great.
Yeah.
So how is that, the boot camp going, by the way? I've seen the pictures of the LAN setup, and I imagine like you getting super cozy with the Astralis guys for a few weeks is good for the both of you, but how's that going so far?
So right now it's kind of just on and off. We did 2 days in a row with them, and then we went back to like some online scrims, but that's just because of like schedule-based things that we have going on around here. So for this boot camp, we have like some performance coaches coming in tomorrow, actually. So it's supposed to be just like some like workouts, like mental focus stuff. Like they're gonna hang out with us, so like very like motivational type people. So that's gonna be cool. The LAN scrims were awesome. The first 2 days of the Astralis, I didn't think it was actually gonna go as clean as it did, but there was literally no problem. Servers didn't go down, and if they did, it was maybe for like 15 minutes. So it was really good. The setup actually downstairs too for them was very identical to what we have upstairs in the bullpen.
Right.
But good. We plan to have more teams over. I know that we are currently scheduling with OXG to come over, I think next week, and then SSG as well. If they win the qualifiers, we plan to have them over as well. Astralis was like the perfect choice. And my dog just knocked my keys down, was the perfect choice initially because I know that they're not, they've already qualified. They're all here. They all took a long break just like we did. I was in New York with Henry and Nick. Henry, which is, I think he just goes by Henry, or Red Cube.
Right, yeah.
So everyone got back. We started the same day. None of us like practiced beforehand. We all came back. I think actually we had 1 day of practice, and the next day was back-to-back LAN scrims with them after not playing for like 2 weeks. So
sheesh. So for you guys, pretty rigorous. Not the super strenuous or anything. I hope you're not like getting burnt out, but it's like getting back into a groove after a break, right?
Yeah, I feel like on this team, I feel like burnout is very unlikely unless we're just doing some like unrealistic hours. Like as soon as practice is over, most of the guys, myself included, we're loading up ranked. Like we're doing team ranked. Like Canadians playing ranked, like, which is surprising.
What? Shocker, huh?
Yeah. Like we've got everyone, like everyone's just in grind mode. Like everyone's having a great time playing with each other. Like it's different. It's very different.
Well, that's good. I'm glad it's going well. I think what I do want to get to now, though, is like I think it's the biggest thing I'm curious about, and I'm sure a lot of other people have the same curiosity, is why you are sitting there talking to me as an active player and not as a retiree or a coach or even like a broadcast talent hopeful or something like that. So you thought you were done with DZ after the first time, and then after the second time, but you're still an active player and you're still on a tier 1 roster. Why?
So when I had initially retired from DZ back, I think it was SI 2021.
Yep.
It was a decision made in terms of like, I don't think I have it anymore. Like as a player, it was like, I don't know if I can perform to the standard that I hold myself to. So I took that like 5-6 month hiatus and did the analyst stuff, which I really, really did enjoy. Like I loved it. Like I wanted to be on the desk with you and Jesse and all the other guys there, Veli, and I think Veli was still there at the time.
Yeah.
I really wanted to do that. I took it very seriously. I loved it. Mexico was so much fun. It was cool to see your guys' perspective of everything, and it's something, like I said, I really did want to do.
Aside from the one time you got sick, right? But like,
that was not fun. Yeah. During Mexico, I was approached by SSG, and backstory on that, there's been multiple times where, even back on like Reciprocity, where I almost joined SSG multiple times, but the orgs didn't let it happen. So that was like, it wasn't like I mean, it was maybe a big surprise for like some people, but like if you knew back then, like I almost joined SSG multiple times. So going back to that, they approached me. It was the role that I wanted to play. It was players I had full faith in. And everything sounded great. And the opportunity to play with world championship players, tier 1 players, like they're not like a lower tier team in the NAL. Like it was hard to say no. Everything that like was great. The contract was great. The The practice schedule was great. The people, we all got along. It was just like one of those things on the table that's like, am I going to regret this decision if I say no? And in that moment in time, that's how I felt. I felt like if I said no, I was making a mistake.
So maybe if it wasn't totally congruous with what you were thinking you wanted to do, like post-playing, like because you'd already retired, you were making considerations about what a future outside of being a pro gamer could look like, and then you get that offer, and it's kind of like, well, if I don't say yes, am I going to regret it for the most
Exactly.
part? Yeah.
It was one of those things, too, where it's like I just had like a 4, 5, 6 month break, whatever it was, where I felt like mentally I was like refreshed, and then I was watching the game and like watching it. Like being in Mexico, it was hard to watch and not be playing there at the same time. As much as I enjoyed being on the desk too, it was hard to just like watch. I was like, dude, I should be here.
Literally me, every time like there's an event going on and for some reason I'm not there, I'm like, man, I want to be like a part of that experience, right? Because that's what I'm used to. That's home for me, right? I don't mention this with the intention of like stirring any like old drama up or anything, but I did go back and reread your twit longer from stage 3 about the reasons that you left that SSG team and your side of the story and the way that you felt you were being treated and how all of that went. It's obviously been a couple of months since that point, so I was curious, with the power of hindsight, do you look or do you feel any differently about the way that your time on Spacestation came to an end, or how that whole situation kind of resolved or didn't resolve itself? Or do you still look at that situation today in the same way that you did back then?
I would say for the most part, I still stand by everything that I said. I have obviously since then talked to multiple people on that team, and they have came to me personally. Like, I didn't reach out to them. They reached out to me personally and said that if they could go back and change how things ended, that they would. I don't think, I would just say my biggest lesson from that was I don't think I ever had the opportunity on that team to be what they wanted me to be. And I think that's kind of where the falling down or falling apart kind of came through. Like, they wanted me for something, but I don't think I was ever actually given that opportunity to be what they wanted. I think it was just kind of like filling in a point until they could figure out what they actually needed. But I don't have any ill will towards any of them. Like I said, I've talked to pretty much all of them, still in good terms, hang out with them. So yeah, I mean, there's no bad blood, at least on my end. And from my knowledge, if there's bad blood, it's one person maybe. So, but
gotcha. No, it's a good thing to hear, especially after something like that, happens publicly. There's miscommunications and things kind of go off the rails. Hopefully I could be able to talk to any of the SSG guys and they could give like a similar response back to me about how everything went with you. So that's a good thing to hear. What would you say the best thing you were able to take away from your time with SSG was? Like, I would like to think after you went to 2 events with them, there seemed like there was a good spark of something initially, the end of 2021 into SI. I'd like to think that players can take different things away from their times at different squads. So is there anything that you're taking away from your SSG tenure into this second stint with DarkZero?
I would say the biggest thing I've taken from them is kind of something that I took from Reciprocity back in the day, is friendship with your teammates really does matter. Like, being able to hang out outside of practice is extremely important. And I always kind of felt like it was important, but I think with being with them, it showed me how truly important it is.
So when you've got that extra kind of camaraderie, more time spent with people outside of just the context of work, like kind of the equivalent of if you had an office job, being able to go out and grab drinks with some of the guys after you've done your 9 to 5, that kind of relationship.
Exactly. It should never be like practice is over and you're in a room and it feels awkward now. Like, it should never be like that. It should just be like you're hanging out with your friend, practice is over, work's over. What are we doing now? Like, let's have some fun. Let's go out and do something. Let's stay in. Let's watch a movie. Like,
yeah,
you should definitely be able to like reach out to one of them and just be able to talk to them outside of work hours.
That's not to say that teams should completely be based on friendship, right? Because you obviously you want to make sure that like the skill level is there. You've got the in-game chemistry, but if you don't have that, then there's kind of less of an actual opportunity for a team to thrive in that environment.
That's kind of what I feel like here now on DZ is like friendship is very important, but like we hold each other accountable every single day. Like, if someone is not like, if someone's being lazy, we're calling it out. Like, if we're having a bad map, we're not waiting till the end of the day to say something. We're saying at the end of the map, next map needs to be better type of thing.
Gotcha. So then taking from that experience and then moving into DZ, everything that we kept hearing, like even like behind the scenes, was you were on the team for DarkZero at like the beginning of stage 3 in a sub capacity, just in case something came up. Something does come up, Hyper ends up needing to depart from the roster, and now you're back on it. Was that a case of just, you're like, you know what, this is kind of a one-time thing, I'll do this just because it's these guys, I've been with these guys before? Or did you think this might actually be a gateway for you to get back into maybe a healthier Siege environment than what you had when SSG ended? What was your mentality jumping in as a sub, not before you actually came on full-time again?
It was honestly just a favor. Brandon reached out to me, BC. He asked if I would be available if they needed an emergency sub. I asked all the details. I talked to Hyper because that's obviously who it's for.
Yeah.
And Hyper was is a good friend. I can consider him my little brother at some point back on the old team. So, it was one of those things that was just like, I'm doing a favor for the guys. I'll show up, do the best I can. It was a better timing than when I first joined SSG in terms of performance, because I was still playing Siege all the time. Like I was doing VOD reviews and playing the game and all that. I was actually supposed to come on the NAL as a guest analyst again.
Yeah, we were talking about that at one point. We were like, hey, is it going to happen? Oh, he's a DZ sub. No, we don't know.
Yeah. So, again, it's one of those things where I'm doing a favor, bad timing. The desk is where I wanted to be. But more reason I took the opportunity to help them was because some of the things that I was hearing about the NAL, which have happened now, switching from like Face It to ESL, or ESL to Blast, I think now.
Yep.
So it's like, I don't know if the people that I know there are going to be here. So it's like, there's no guarantee that like that opportunity is even there anymore. But again, I wanted to be on the desk. That's something I still think about. But it was just to help out DZ. They reached out. They paid well too. You know what I mean? It wasn't like they short-stubbed me or anything. Yeah, they paid good. I got to play. I played a role I haven't played in years, so I'm surprised I did decent. But yeah, I just went into the intent with, I'm going to give these guys what I got. I'm going to try to help them get to the major, and then, I'll go back home.
So then from that substitute position going into the off season, I remember there was that tweet about you saying you were interested in coaching again, and then I think that got nuked like not too long after, and everyone was like, oh, what does that mean? But then what was it, more a case of there was still that competitive itch there and you were still wanting to see, oh, you know what, maybe this can work out? Or was it DZ that realized, hey, maybe if you don't necessarily work the best in Hyper's capacity, we can still use you? How did it come about for you to move from the sub back into a full-time role with the team?
So I put out the tweet, and there was some interest. I'm not going to name teams.
No, that's
because
fine. Yeah.
But there wasn't a team that reached out that I thought had the how I put this, like the capacities to make the top, like a top tier team. Like,
sure.
It was one of those things where it's like you would have to be like a fresh start, like a Mirage type of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of changes that need to be made, all that stuff. But so basically, getting to the DZ thing, they trialed players mid-season. After we didn't qualify for, I think it was Yonkaping, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
They decided to make a roster change with Eclipse. They told him before the season was over. They were very direct with him. I had no idea, by the way.
Oh, really?
I was downstairs. No, I had no clue. I was downstairs. I got the text. Talked with Tyler Eclipse, went on a walk with him, and that's how I found out. And it just happened. Obviously, I'm not a part of the team, so like I felt like it was right that I wasn't involved in that. Like basically, once that happened, they started trialing players. Some people have already said it, so I don't feel like I'm leaking anything. But they trialed out Mr. B and Hacker and Gaveni.
Yep.
And I watched a couple of those trials, and I just sat down with like Mint and gave my input on things. He would ask me some questions like, "What do you think of this guy? Like, what do you think this guy's doing?" And he asked my opinion, is like, so like, what are you doing? Like, what are your thoughts on like playing again? And kind of like in trying to like see how my interest is, how much into it I still am. And
right.
I told him it was just like it's something that I would think about, but I'm not too sure. Astralis reached out too before they got spiffed. They wanted to see where I was at.
Okay.
It was just like it was like the right system that I like. If I was to play again, it was like the right system, the right people, and like laying out like what you want from me and like my expectations. I think that's something I never did enough on other teams is like directly laying out like this is what I can bring and what do you want. So when I did that, I feel like it kind of like piqued the interest. He was like, because he wanted to know what role I wanted to play if I was to play again. I was like, obviously, I either want to play like the flank watch role or I want to play the hard support role. I don't want to entry. I don't think that's me anymore.
Sure.
But that's kind of just how it started. It was just like little conversations here and there, watching trialists with Mint as they were playing, and pointing out things about players that I don't think maybe he like initially noticed. From some of them, like, he's looking for different things. He's looking for like vibes. They needed like a personality guy. That was kind of one thing that they said they were lacking, is like they need someone with like a stronger personality to like mix around with the other guys, because you got some quiet people.
What was your first impression of Gav? Like even like before like those trials started, or like as you were talking to Mint about like how that stuff was going, what did you initially think of him before he joined?
So I didn't watch much of Challenger League. So the only thing I really got to see of him were those trials. And he was the one player out of the trials that I thought was like the best choice. In terms of communication, the way he listens, the way he responds, the way he plays his role. He's not complaining like I'm just gonna say like a Challenger League player does. He's not complaining about like when he dies or like if something bad happens. He's like trying to see what he could do better. And he's very teachable. That's what I learned too, is like when one of the guys would like tell him to like do something, the next trial, like he was better at what he was told to like work on. So he was my like favorite choice of the bunch, even though, like I said, I don't know if my opinion mattered at the time, but I said him. And then eventually later on, Mint asked me if I'd be interested in playing with like him, Gaveni, and then like someone else. We tried out, I think, who else we tried out? I think we tried out Freak, I think.
Okay, sure.
Was a part of a trial I was in. I think it was Frank, Gaveni, and there was one other person. I think it was Spiff, actually. Spiff. So I had a couple trials with those guys, and I know that the support role was between me and Mr. B. I know that there was things that they liked about Mr. B. There was things they liked about me, but it came down to if I wanted it. They just straight up asked me. They said, "Do you want, like, it's yours if you want it?" And so I said, like, you can kind of think about it, and then I said I would take it eventually. And then again, we trialed Gaveni, we tried Freak, we tried Spiff, and we tried Fish as well. Actually, I forgot about Fish. It came down to Spiff, Gaveni, and Fish.
Pretty good list.
Yeah, all of them were really, really good. Ultimately, my vote came down to Gaveni. I don't know the other guys' votes because, like I said, I wasn't involved in that. But my vote was Gaveni, and here we are now, and it's pretty good.
This is a question I was thinking about asking anyway, but then you said Mint asked you about it. And I don't ask it like to come off as insulting or anything. So if it does, just know that in advance. But how much of your heart actually is in this? For a guy who's at least had enough consideration of what life outside of this kind of lifestyle is like and has tried a couple of times to maybe do something different, do you see this more as like a last ride scenario that just kind of worked out because DarkZero wanted to make things work with you and said the spot is yours if you want it? Or do you consider yourself like fully back in the fray to commit to everything the lifestyle requires and to go and win a couple more trophies?
For me, it's a commitment thing. I've ended personal relationships for this. I was in a pretty serious relationship that I basically kind of had to choose between that or this, and I chose this. So, yeah. It's one of those things where it's like I feel like my motivation is there. I want it. I do want to end my career on a high note. I don't want to end it on getting dropped off a team that I feel like we should have achieved much more. But I'm in it. If something happens to where I get dropped again or something, then I think that would be like the wake up call for me, where it's like my career's done. Like I need to actually hang it up and not blue ball a retirement.
Sure. Yeah. Again.
Yes, but if when the playing time does come to an end, if Siege is still, thriving, doing well, like I said, I want to be on the desk. Like I said, it's something that I really, really did enjoy. So that's where I would want to be afterwards. If that's not possible, then I'll have to figure something out. But I would like to remain within esports, whether that's from like an org position, an NAL thing, like coaching. Like I feel like where I belong is within esports, but if for whatever reason my life goes somewhere else, then I feel like it's probably just meant to be that way because that's how I got here. I never planned to be in esports. It just kind of happened because life,
sounds like what happens for most people who get into esports. It's like, well, we didn't plan this, but we're here anyway, right? Like,
exactly.
Can't do too much about it. Well, you are actually in a pretty unique position on something. You're one of, right now, only 3 people in the world who are going to every single Six Invitational since 2017. 3. You, Troy, Astro. Bosco technically has his streak alive if he's able to win quals with Spacestation, but that's it. So how much does it mean to you to be on a team that always is good enough to make it to a world championship? You've been in it for this long and you haven't missed a single one so far.
I feel like my career just screams falling short. Like we always get there. We always get there, but we can never get to the end. Like Reciprocity, SI, when we beat EG, and then we got to the G2 game, like I really felt like before the game, like we are going to the finals. Like I was so confident. And then we lost, obviously, but like I haven't felt that confident in an invite since the Reciprocity invite. And I think the only one other one I played at was the DZ 2021, I think.
That was a pretty decent run, if I remember right. Yeah, it didn't go too far, but yeah.
Which one? The DZ one, we got to quarters and we lost.
Oh no, there was the one. It was 2020. You were on stage against NIP. That was with a crowd. I think it.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. That one was actually. I was actually pretty confident in that too. That one. Oh yes, that one. I was actually shocked that we lost. Like I know they ended up winning it, or maybe they got second place. Is that one SSG one?
That was in Space Station 1.
Yeah. I felt like that game, we literally just beat ourselves. I actually remember talking about that after the game. I was like, we just did not play our seed. We were just like, is either like the nerves got to us or it was just like something. The stage got to us. Yeah. But that game, I feel like we truly beat ourselves.
What would it mean to you if you could finally take home Invitational Trophy number 2? Because you did it 6 years ago. It was on a completely different platform, completely different meta. Everything about that was a lot different. But given what you've said about the things that you've done in your life to make this a thing that you can keep on pursuing, and it's always been a constant for you, what would it mean to you if you could actually finally lift the hammer again?
I don't know how to explain the feeling. Like even just winning on Xbox back in the day when the prize pool was lower,
pennies,
pennies. Like there was very. It wasn't anything compared to now. It's not a feeling that you can like describe. It's I haven't felt anything like that since then. Like that's the way to put it. Like it would mean everything to pull up and win on PC, be one of the few players that's won on console and PC. Like I feel like with the amount of work that I put in, like it's something that I should have by now. So I'm hoping this time around it is that time.
I mean, if you feel like you're on a team that's got the capacity to do it, is there any concern over the fact that it's a DZ team that in spite of it being really good and Gavini being really good, it's like, well, it's a rookie and they've made some changes and it's like the first time we're getting the chance to really trial this out and it's at a world championship. Like, do you think you've got a realistic shot or would you prefer to wait until after you've done scrims and you're like actually on site in Montreal before you answer that?
I think at the level that we are playing right now, if we were to go there, we would have a very, very good chance. If we like the way that practice has gone the last week since we've gotten back, if we play at this level, I am very, very, very confident we could win. Very confident. But that's the thing is like practice is practice. You have to transfer everything you do in practice to a match. And so if we can't do that, then obviously it's not going to go the way we want. But if we continue to improve the way that we are and the way we're playing, the way that we are, there's a very good chance. There's a very good chance.
Well, I'm excited to watch it. I know you're just as excited to jump back into the fray and do everything all over again. So we can save it for then. You've got a crazy another couple of weeks before that actually comes up. So take it for everything that it's worth, dude. Thanks a lot for actually taking the time to talk to me about this. And hopefully I'll see you in Montreal. We can catch up a lot more.
Thank you. It was fun.